This is Talking Law on Radio 97 with Despina Priala from Priala Legal in Runaway Bay. If you have a question to do with the law, big or small questions, they're all welcome. Send it in an email, if you would, to breakfast97@superradionetwork.com.au, and Despina will go digging for you and hopefully find you an answer. The email address, once again, is breakfast97@superradionetwork.com.au.
Thank you, Wayne. So now we obviously have been discussing floods and insurance. So one big question is body corporate, and I guess in your apartment, if something was to happen or if you're about to buy an apartment, what are you covered for in your insurance? There is a bit of a blurry area here, Despina, that's come up recently. So can you talk us through it?
Yes, so I thought with the recent flooding that we've experienced, particularly southeast Queensland, we're talking about Queensland law here, so not to take away from what's happened in New South Wales, of course, but in Queensland, particularly because we want to talk about the Queensland legislation for body corporates and apartments, I thought we would talk about what a body corporate's building insurance cover actually covers. And there is a lot of confusion, as far as I'm concerned, for buyers who actually buy apartments in buildings, whether it's off the plan or whether it's an existing. Doesn't really matter from this perspective, because if it's an off the plan, you obviously eventually settle, you become an owner in an apartment in a building, whether you become that now or you become that later on. So there is some confusion, because a lot of the people that I speak to, buyers, when they're buying apartments, we talk about insurance a lot, because I know that there's this misconception out there in the community and society that what the body corporate has in terms of insurance cover for building, a lot of people think that that covers everything that a buyer and an owner should have for their apartment inside, but it actually doesn't. So first of all, when I talk to buyers and owners of apartments, we talk about, well, let's see what the body corporate has to insure. So the body corporate, and this is all regulated by, of course, legislation and particular regulations as well for apartment buildings. So body corporate has to, one, take out insurance, public liability insurance for all the common areas. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely something they have to do. Lot owners of apartments do not have to worry or concern themselves with public liability for common areas such as driveways, such as parking areas, such as gardens, pools, other common amenities. So that's a body corporate's responsibility. And as part of your body corporate levies, there's a component in there for insurance, and that would contribute to that. So the other component is that the body corporate has to take out building insurance. Okay, and the cover is in relation to things such as damage from earthquake, explosions, fire, lightning, storm and water, malicious acts, etc. So they have to do that. Now, what are we talking about when we say the building? Yeah, so this is where the misconception comes into play, because people believe that the building will include improvements and fixtures, including what's inside your unit. But it actually doesn't. So when you buy an apartment, you have to take out insurance to cover things such, obviously, your contents, and the value of your policy will depend upon the value of your contents that you are storing in there. But more importantly, I suppose, or maybe equally as important, is things inside your unit, your fixtures and fittings yourself. Okay, because the cover that a body corporate has to take out has certain excluded items under the legislation. And those excluded items under the building cover insurance are things like carpets, are things like mobile dishwashers, clothes dryers, electrical or gas appliances, not wired or plumbed in, curtains, blinds, internal window coverings, mobile or fixed air conditioners, and things that can be removed by a lessee or tenant. So these are things that are not covered by the body corporate. So when you go and buy that apartment and you become the owner, you need to make sure that you've got proper insurance cover for the contents, for your fixtures and fittings inside that apartment, in case there is damage sustained later on due to, for example, fire due to someone's, got into your apartment, burgled it, and has caused damage to the property. But another quirky one, I suppose I could call it, is water or flood damage, where, say, for example, you have a bathtub and you leave the tap running accidentally, or there's an extended leak, or something has happened with one of the electrical appliances and it's caused a fire, and it depends on the cause of the fire as to the liability. But just for those things alone, you need to have insurance cover, because if you did have that leaking tap and the water floods the apartment, then you've got damage to curtains, carpet, other areas of your unit. So all of that's not the body corporate's responsibility. See, so it's really important people understand there is the difference between what a body corporate has to insure for and what you have to insure for as a lot owner. Yep. So you would, as a lot owner or a buyer, you would approach an insurance company. You would clearly explain to them what you're buying. And I think that's also a mistake some people make, that the insurance company, and they have their obligations to ask you a lot of questions as well about the cover. We've talked about that on the show previously with the changes to the laws. So they have their own obligations to talk to people when they ring up to take cover and ask them specific questions. But you need to be able to answer those questions. So one of the things, of course, it sounds simple, but you need to describe to the insurance company, what are you buying? What is the actual product, if I could call it that? Is it a dwelling, a house? Is it a duplex? Okay. Is it a townhouse? Is it a unit? So, or is it just vacant land where you really only would need public liability because you've got no improvements or house on the vacant land? So really, really important to understand and explain to the insurance company. The other thing that I do actually say to lot owners as well is I always recommend public liability inside the lot. And the reason for that is if you have a tradesman come into your lot to, fix an air conditioning unit, or fix a smoke alarm, or any other light fitting, for example. What if they come in and they have an accident, they trip and fall?
Wow. So they wouldn't be covered by their own business's insurance?
Well, I would not like to take that risk myself personally, being a lawyer, being conservative. I would just take out my own public liability insurance cover just in case.
Yeah, wow.
Because you just don't know what they're covered for in terms of the business. But with body corporates, when you're getting into a body corporate community living arrangement, when you become a lot owner, you have the right also to ask for a copy of the insurance policy.
Yeah.
And that's really important as well. And we usually get that while you're under contract.
Awesome.
So you don't have to worry about it after settlement. And then you can actually see what the body corporate is covering for under their insurance policy.
Sure. And then when you ask those questions, if you want to take out insurance, make sure that you specify your contents, but also include those fixtures. If you have a beautiful chandelier you've just installed or a new aircon or something like that, make sure it's listed under there clearly.
100%.
Yeah.
You definitely have to do that. But I always suggest as well, get a copy of the body corporate's insurance cover. I think it's important that everybody gets a copy of that and has a look in the event that there might be a dispute as to who is liable for an unusual situation like damage done to a balcony from a leaking situation on the balcony above, or some other potential common property issue that's caused damage to your unit.
Yeah. Wonderful advice there, as always, from Despina Priala from boutique law firm Priala Legal. Thank you, Despina. And where can people go if they do want to get in touch with you directly?
Yes, so they can phone the office, 55291 294. And I've recently had a lot of people reach out, so happy to take those calls. When I can get to them, I try to get to them as soon as I can, of course, to help those people where I can. Or they can go send me an email, info@prialalegal.com.au. And they can go to YouTube and check out all of our segments. And, of course, I do take a couple of days after our show to upload them. Usually do it on the weekends when I have the time. So anyone that's missed today's segment, it'll be uploaded by the weekend.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again, Despina and Wayne.
See you next week.
See you then.